My boyfriend cheated on me because he doesn't believe in monogamy and wants an open relationship, but despite him kissing his girl best friend, I'm still not going to break up with him. I, 22 feet, have been with my boyfriend, 23 meters, for 2.5 years, and I'm unsure if my views on monogamy will ever perfectly align with his. This has been weighing on me for a very long time, basically, the entire duration of my 2.5-year-long relationship, and I've never talked to anyone about this. I found out my boyfriend had been cheating maybe 6 months into our relationship. What ensued for about the next year and a half was an endless cycle of him cheating and then displaying a dramatic gesture of guilt and promising he'd change. This made my last year of college quite miserable. It seemed like once a month, my roommates would drunkenly sit me down on a Saturday night and tell me they saw him doing, insert any promiscuous activity, with someone. Needless to say, it was humiliating. I spent late nights taking care of him while he was incomprehensibly drunk. He would lash out at me, and then apologize, and repeat. This sounds like case closed, right? All of this breaking and mending of trust truly broke me. I started picking fights and being an overall angry and irrational person toward him. I resented him more than I have resented anyone in my life. The problem is, I also loved him deeply. And I know this is a played out and really dumb justification for being in an unhealthy relationship, but the good times were really good. We had a lot of fun together, and he always assured me that he loved me, so I kept going back. Still should be case closed, right? The last day of college, as he was moving out, he did that familiar thing of dramatically displaying his love for me and telling me that things were going to be different. At this point, I felt so broken that it didn't even matter that he kept cheating. It had become normal now. I would get hurt, try to forgive, and resent. It was familiar and comfortable, and the thought of breaking up still put a rotten feeling in my stomach. Since that last day, he started to actually change. He explained that he doesn't believe in monogamous relationships and often lashed out as a result of feeling forced into one. His destructive and inflammatory behavior stopped, he's living healthier, and he seems overall happier. So I took a crack at an open relationship. Basically, I went on 2 Tinder dates, ended up in bed with one of them, but didn't really enjoy myself. I feel much happier and at ease being romantically involved with someone with whom I have a deep connection than just acting on a physical connection. Not only did I find it particularly exhausting, but it didn't feel like I was doing it for the right reasons. It only felt like I was trying to get back at my boyfriend. After all the push and pull and manipulation, I can't shake the resentment I have toward him. I really do want to try to completely forgive and stay in his life. However, it seems the only way that can still happen is if I am content with an open relationship, and I still can't tell if I am or not. Maybe it's just too soon and the wounds haven't healed, you know? I'm confused because he openly tells me about any hooking up that he does. He recently kissed his best friend, which is what prompted this post, and I'm not sure if what I feel is jealousy in that present moment or if it sends my emotions back to the really bad, paranoia-filled days when I was never told the truth. It could be a little bit of both, but either way, it doesn't feel great, but also not necessarily terrible. I'll be honest, it feels a lot better now that he doesn't hide any of it from me. I know that the healthiest thing to do here is just to break it off. There's been too much broken trust and too much negativity for this to mend itself. But I'm sure many of you know it's not that easy. We care about each other deeply, we enjoy each other's company, and pretty much never stop smiling and laughing when we're together. And I feel like now, since we're both trying to focus on happiness and positivity, things could get better quickly, if only I could make up my mind on how I feel about this. And at this point, it feels impossible to break up unless I have some eternal sunshine of the spotless mind-like mechanism. I care very much about this person, and I feel like I'd do anything to make it work. Also, I'm aware that I have been pretty foolish up to this point. I can't seem to justify to myself or anyone else my desire to stay in the relationship, and I also can't bring myself to leave. Perhaps I've put too much faith into one person. I'm hoping that feedback on this will bring me more clarity. Whether that's telling me I'm an idiot and should leave immediately, or that things are looking up and it will work out in time, I welcome and appreciate it. What would you make of all of this? What would you do? Do I just lack all self-respect, or is there anything potentially redeeming about my excessive hope and undeserved trust? Relevant comments. Comment 1. He's getting everything he wants while you suffer. Then he throws it in your face when he essentially brags about his conquests to you. He's not a good person, and you deserve better. It will only get worse if you continue to take it. Comment 2. Nobody here can make you break up with him. If he's been treating you like that for years and you keep taking it, I don't think anything anyone says will make a difference. I will say I think what you're doing is what most people in your situation are doing. It's like an extreme form of procrastination. You don't want to deal with what seems like a huge problem, the breakup, sadness, parting ways, starting over. So instead, you're putting it off, ignoring it, knowing on some level you're making an even bigger, unfixable problem for yourself, a serial cheating boyfriend, constant embarrassment from friends and family, and a lifetime of unhappiness. So, deal with the breakup now or deal with everything else? I don't know. The breakup is immediate, great pain now, but definitely better than the life you're setting yourself up for. Response: I know you're right. Actually, doing it sounds like such a big hurdle, and I'll probably fight with myself about it some more, but I know with full clarity that you're right. Comment 3. I mean, he just doesn't sound like the guy for you, or for many others who want stability in a relationship, but anywho. He sounds extremely selfish and self-serving. This relationship does not sound fulfilling to you at all. Try to picture what your best future relationship could look like with person X, somebody you don't yet know. In this hypothetical relationship, I don't think you'd be feeling the negative emotions you are feeling now. That's not what you aspire to or need. You are a loyal person, but your loyalty is misplaced in your current relationship. Find somebody who truly values and appreciates it, not just to their own selfish ends, and honors you. You are also at the right age to learn that feelings such as love and self-sacrifice are not always enough to sustain a relationship. Sometimes relationships don't work out, but you can move on to a better one. Stop treating him like some kind of addiction that you need, but is actually bad for you, and trust yourself to move on. The future will be better. Response: This is the most constructive and helpful thing I've read so far, so thank you. I understand that I'm far from where I need to be. I've handled breakups in the past fairly well, even one that lasted longer than this one. I've just never felt paralysis and hopelessness on this scale before. I know he's treated me like garbage, and I know what I should do, but this whole situation honestly has clouded my judgment so densely that I make 1.5 million excuses to stay, which is clearly evident in my original post. That's what I get for never letting these thoughts leave my own head until now. God, this is so messed up. In any case, this made me feel 0.5% more confident, and I appreciate it. Update: 7 years later. Curiosity got the best of me after recalling a bunch of well-meaning strangers basically responding, WTF. The feeling of shame was visceral. I fully understood I was in a messed-up relationship but couldn't find the courage or self-respect to leave. It was this immense dissonance that I can't describe to this day, and I still have a hard time talking about it in therapy. It was just surreal and painful, reading it. There were a few very compassionate yet stern comments, which I'm grateful for in retrospect. Anyway, I'm 29 now and married to the most wonderfully caring, loving, respectful, sweet person on this planet, 31 meters, who I am excited to have a future with instead of being full of dread. We have been together for 5 years and married for a few months. I'm really happy now. That post feels like it was written by a different person in a different lifetime. Life feels so much lighter than it used to. There's no other point to this post, except maybe to comment that manipulation is one hell of a drug. Relevant comments. Comment 1. That's so nice to hear. How did you get out? Response: I would have loved to say I wised up and did it myself lol, but obviously, I was in very deep, and it took him breaking it off because it just reached ungodly levels of misery and resentment. I guess I will never know if I would have come to the same conclusion myself, but I'd really hope so. I try to have compassion for my past self and remind myself that my view of relationships had really been warped at the time, and all judgment was just so cloudy. Comment 2. Now that you have more perspective, do you understand what it was that made you love him so deeply in spite of everything? Response: I think I can attribute a lot to low self-esteem. I sort of put him on this pedestal of smarter than me and better than me in all aspects from the start. So when things started to fall apart, in my mind, it was obviously because of something I was doing, not him. After so many times of him cheating and making excuses for him, I started to feel a lot of shame, because I knew deep down I was being foolish, which made me defensive of the relationship. Like, when my friends would confront me about it, in my head, I would just be like, they don't get it, they're not in this relationship, so they don't understand. It was easier to hold a mirror up to others than to myself, so I would just dig my heels in. It was always, I just need to change something about myself for this to work, but it will work, which I think is evident in my original post. So low self-esteem and shame just kind of feeding each other in that cycle is my best guess lol.